Hey, happy Monday. I am really excited to be here with you this morning because I love Mondays. I love starting out the day, the week on a strong energy, on a strong foot. I actually spent the weekend with my two sons camping, and it was awesome. I got really dirty, and we went fishing, and we did some badge work for their troop, and it was awesome. But it got me to thinking this weekend a lot about fulfillment. You know, the thing is, with most of us, we all want success, right? We all want to achieve that next level. But is it really that simple? Is it all about success? Is it really what we're after? Is that really the purpose? Tony Robbins says that there's a science to achievement, but there's an art to fulfillment. He also says that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I think I agree because I've known so many people, and I'm sure you do too, that have all of this money. They've got all this material wealth. They've had all this success, we'll say, but they're not happy. They're not fulfilled. They don't have joy in their life. They got a lot of stuff, but they don't have true fulfillment. So ultimately, what is fulfillment? What's the difference between having success and achieving all your goals and all your dreams and fulfillment? Imagine achieving everything that you set out to achieve in your life. You have all these really, my coach used to call them BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. And let's say that you achieve them all. Let's say that you get there and you achieve every goal that you set out to, but you still feel empty inside. It's because the goals are a catalyst. They are the pull power that pulls us forward. The compelling future is what pulls us toward that. But the fulfillment is progress. The fulfillment is about moving a little bit more each day. Happiness equals progress. Progress equals happiness. If we don't have continuous progress, then we can't be happy. We can't be fulfilled. I used to think that I used to be really confused about that phrase that says it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But it's so true because as we move forward and we start to achieve goals, we have to have that continuous movement. We have to have that continuous progress. So ultimately, deep down on a base level, what is fulfillment? Well, I think there's really three pillars to fulfillment. These are the things that fulfillment rests on. These are the way that you can really find true fulfillment in your life and true happiness, not just getting more stuff. So the first one would be personal growth and authentic alignment. Because fulfillment is really about embracing who you are. It's about finding those unique talents and those gifts that you've been given. I think that God gives us all a set of gifts or talents. But the funny thing is that we have to figure out what they are and how to use them, right? So he gives them to us, but it's up to us to figure out what that is and how to use those to serve other people. So the first step to fulfillment is about continuous growth. It's about progress. And it's not about what you can get in the end. It's about the person that you were meant to be. It's about who you become. There's a question that I ask myself every single day. And it's a really simple question, but it really just comes down to, is this action, whatever I'm about to do or that I should do or shouldn't do, is this action bringing me closer to or further away from the person that I want to become? Because ultimately, who you become is what's going to make you really happy or really sad or really disappointed. What you get along the way is just a bonus. Who you become is the real treasure. Fulfillment's about when you touch your real potential. It's about fulfilling your calling. It's when you step into who you were meant to be. Ultimately, fulfillment, like I said, isn't about what you can achieve. It's about who you become. And it has nothing to do with that money or material success. I'll give you an example. So when I started all three of my companies, I had this period where I wasn't making any money at first, and in the startup mode. And I worked my butt off to get there with all three companies. And if you work for yourself or you are an entrepreneur, that first dollar moment, right? The first dollar you make in a new business, that's a really special moment. But what I didn't realize at first, and I felt this a little bit with each business, was that you're really working for that first dollar, right? But when you finally get it, if that's the reason for the whole business, you feel excited, really excited at first. Like, I did all of this, I built all this so I can get my first dollar. But then it feels really hollow if that's all you did it for. I've experienced this with all three of my businesses. By the third, I had learned a lot and knew that success was not all about money, but I still experienced that a little bit, kind of that hollow feeling, like I made my first dollar. Now what? Now, don't get me wrong. If you don't make money, you don't have a business. Okay, you got to have revenue, obviously. But what I'm getting at is that you can't make that the main focus. It's got to be on how you can serve others. And even further than that, how do you specifically, like I said, align with you? How do you use your gifts and your talents given to you by your creator to help serve others, to help solve a problem? That's what business is all about. If you're a realtor, if you're in real estate, that's mostly who I work with. You're solving a problem for someone. They don't just need a house. They don't just need to purchase a house. They need to solve the problem of where their family is going to live, or where maybe they're going to run their business from, whatever it is, but you're helping them solve a problem. The second pillar is serving others. True fulfillment, that's achieved by putting others first and serving a purpose greater than yourself. Shifting from that self-serving, self-centered goals to really contributing to the well-being of other people. Because true fulfillment, it doesn't come from just serving yourself. It doesn't come from this "what's in it for me" attitude. I had a coach that would call it whiffum, right? What's in it for me? But it comes from putting others first. It comes from serving that higher purpose, not just your self-interest. The minute you start thinking about how you can serve others, how you can make someone else's life better, that's when everything changes. That's when your business changes. That's when your life changes. So change it from whiffum, what's in it for me, to what can I do for you? And it's all about mindset. All you have to do is make that little switch. Now, I want to stipulate real quick that whiffum, what's in it for me, is it's not about taking care of yourself, right? Taking care of yourself is really important. Self-care and making sure that you're getting poured into so that you have enough to pour out into other people. I like to think of it as like a cup. And when you pour your contents, when you pour your cup into other people, you have to have, eventually, if you don't have someone pouring into you, you're going to be empty. So you have to have someone pouring into you. And then what happens is, as you fill up, you overflow, and everyone gets the overflow of what you've put into yourself, what you've put into the fulfillment and the progress and the authentic you. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about don't take care of yourself. What I'm talking about when I think of whiffum is, what can I gain from you? Because what happens is, when you think of what can I get from you, what can I gain from this situation, it goes from a relationship to a transaction. And there's really no true fulfillment in transactions. There's just not. The true fulfillment comes from relationships. So shift from what's in it for me to what can I do for you, or how can I serve you? And again, how do you solve problems for someone else? And then the third pillar would be finding meaning and connection. Beyond serving and that personal growth, fulfillment is really tied to the meaning. Uh, it's about finding that meaning in your actions and building that connection. Because what happens is the only meaning in life is the meaning that we give it. The only meaning that you ever have in your life is one that you decide is attached to that meaning. Think about it. So you can have this same event happen to two different people, and it has a very different meaning. So for 9/11, for example, we just celebrated the anniversary of that. Some people attach the meaning that it was a tragic waste, and some attach the meaning that this was retribution. This was something that people deserved. And that's two completely different meanings of the same event. So the meaning that we attach to it is how we experience life. With the whole Charlie Kirk shooting, there was two different, well, probably more than two, but there was so many different meanings that people gave this one event. So the meaning you give the event is what changes your life. Something as simple as the meaning we give something, it changes everything. And it's the same in our life, our work, our relationships. The meaning we give it shapes your life. I'll give you an example from my life. So when my 8-year-old son was diagnosed with cancer, the third day in the hospital, he was bedridden for 3 days straight. He was in there for 14, but he was bedridden. He couldn't move hardly. And at that third day, he was finally able to stand. And I could have taken a bunch of different meanings from that one event. I could have looked at it as my 8-year-old boy had been totally bedridden for 3 whole days. That's insane. He was a perfectly healthy, bouncy 8-year-old boy, and then all of a sudden he was sick. So I could be thinking about that it's not fair. My 8-year-old son, why me, right? It's not fair that he had to go through this. But the meaning I chose to give it was that he was standing and he was going to pull through, and he was a warrior. He was a fighter. And that's the meaning I chose to give to it. And I was so thankful, and it totally changed the way I experienced that event. Meaning is everything. So as you're making your goals and you're working towards your achievements, which you should, don't forget that true fulfillment doesn't come from achievement. The achievement is like I said, the catalyst. It's the thing that pulls you forward. The goals are the things that you have to work toward. The goals, it's funny, it almost seems counterintuitive because the goals are not really the outcome. Who you become in the end is the outcome. But this comes from the true fulfillment. It comes from personal growth. It comes from aligning with the real version of you, not the fake one, the real version. Fulfillment comes from truly serving others and serving a higher purpose than yourself. Serving that next level. And it comes from finding real meaning and connection in your life. And hey, if you're a real estate agent and you're on here and you want to build your fulfilling life using some of the tools I have to help you find and dig into your true gifts, and you want to discover that higher calling that connects you to higher purpose, and if you want to learn to attach the meanings that allow you to really truly design your life instead of just chasing the next sale, just book a discovery session with me. There's a link in my bio. I would love to sit down with you and help you use these tools to go quicker in your business. Don't get stuck in the trap of this endless success, and never stop to design a life that you really desire, the life that you really want, and then find fulfillment in that life, because ultimately it's your choice. Thanks for being here with me today on a Monday. And if you guys are watching this on a replay, thanks you for coming back and watching the replay. Don't forget, I've got a event or a workshop coming up this Thursday at 11 a.m. I hope to see you there. There's a link in my bio for that as well. And you guys have a great week, and really think about fulfillment this week. And I'll see you soon. Bye.